Blog Talk Radio. You're tuned in to in5d Radio, the next dimension of radio where we bring you the hottest, in-depth, spiritual, metaphysical, esoteric conversations and news with your hosts Greg Prescott and Heidi Cole. Get ready for spirit, body, and mind to expand in 3, 2, 1.
Namaste, everyone, and welcome to in5d Radio, coming to you from Sarasota, Florida, every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and 12 a.m. midnight in the UK. I'm your host, Greg Prescott from in5d.com, and for the next 2 hours, we're going to be raising the vibration of the planet, galaxy, and universe. Tonight, our special guest will be ley line expert and author of the Gaia Matrix, Peter Champoux. But first, I'd like to introduce my co-host, coming to you from New York City, singer, songwriter, and stunt person, and author of the Subway Diaries, Heidi Cole. Hello, Heidi.
Hi, Greg. I hope you can hear me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We got to apologize to everyone. We just had a little glitch in the system, but we're back, and everything's great.
Yeah, we're glitch-free now. So we had a lot of news this week. I've picked one item. Let me just pull it up here. So this week in the news, big story, boobs, or as the fledgling dark Kabbalites might call it, a mass blue pill moment. Yeah, it's a big topic, and rightly so. First off, let me say, which should be evident, I'm not a doctor. I'm a singer and stunt person. And so this is, as with my commentary last week on the healing power of plants, this is purely my opinion. So here we go. There are so many factors wrapped up in movie star, sex icon Angelina Jolie's recent announcement to dismember herself by prophylactically removing her currently perfect healthy breasts that I won't be able to cover all of the dark layers of this recent Illuminati creation tonight, but I'll try my best to touch on a few of the pertinent ones with the help of both Gary Null and Dr. Christiane Northrup. First of all, let me say this trend of mutilating women is nothing new in America and the planet as a whole. It would be interesting to know what percentage of women listening right now have had the H word, i.e. hysterectomy, thrown at them at least once in their lifetime. But for years now, hysterectomies have been the cure of choice offered by mainstream medicine for symptoms ranging from excessive menstrual bleeding to fibroids to endometriosis, even to sadness. I myself was offered this easy breezy panacea over 5 times in my life and had to search high and low for my own way out. I had to create my own balance and health to avoid the mutilation option that was being sold to me and so many others with the zest and zeal and fervor of a door-to-door salesman. So this just cut-it-off tactic is nothing new. What is new, however, is using a movie star / sex icon with such global reach to sell the completely warped concept to women all over the world that this is the only option one has not to be killed by your breasts, your ovaries, or your uterus. The message, just remove body parts and all will be fine, just remove body parts and all will be fine. All is not fine. And let me say this very clearly to anyone who has, up to this point, bought the whole Jolie double mastectomy story. Cancer is not a breast problem. It is an environment problem. And by that I mean it's the environment you create for yourself. What you take in the form of nutrition, supplements, air, food, water, physical activity, life's purpose, the people you choose to surround yourself with, the stress you allow yourself to put up with, and the amount of joy you allow in. The phrase epigenetics is often used to encompass many of these factors. It's not just absurd, it's downright dangerous what's being sold to women via this latest media / big pharma move. To misdirect women even farther away than they've already been led, farther away from taking true care of and honoring and loving their bodies and keeping them healthy and vital for life, which, by the way, is possible, and instead sending the message that everything is out of your control. You have no power. Your breasts, your uterus, your ovaries, essentially everything that makes you a woman is dangerous and can and will kill you, so you best rip it out or cut it off. In my humble opinion, is bordering on abuse of women on a mass scale. Curious as I write this, that the same hard sell has not been pushed on the males of the world. I've not heard one male superstar or actor or celebrity announcing that all young men should have their testicles removed. It's as if it's really a game changer to remove body parts prophylactically to prevent death, which, by the way, is going to happen with or without breasts, testicles, or any other organ you remove to, quote, save your life, shouldn't it apply to men as well? But we've never heard Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt jumping on the mass media bandwagon saying, I've decided to remove my testicles as they've proven to be a health hazard, thereby encouraging young men all over the world to follow suit. No, we haven't yet heard that announcement. Finally, we all probably know by now of the blatant ties of its latest move to corporate profits. As we watch the stock prices of Myriad Genetics, the company who developed the $3,000 BRCA analysis test that Jolie referred to in her Times piece, soar since her announcement. In addition, it's now known that a whopping 20% of women's genes are currently owned by private corporations/monopolies, poised to farm the future billions off you. Yes, that's right. A corporation owns your genes, women. And are you now connecting the dots? Here's Christiane Northrup's, a little bit of her take on the topic.
What a pleasure to hear you talking about this issue with Ms. Jolie. I, like you, agree that everyone has a right to whatever they choose to do with their bodies. And if your conventional doctor tells you you have an 87% risk of breast cancer and you don't know anything about what you just talked about, and which I've spent my whole life teaching, then her decision makes absolute sense. Your statistic on the fact that getting the diagnosis of breast cancer increases the rate of heart attack makes complete sense to me. And the Jolie situation, what it's doing here, unfortunately, because she is an icon of female beauty, has the right guy, has the right life, women will uncritically look at her approach to breast cancer prevention by removing breasts, and they will not understand the nuance. We have a very limited knowledge of epigenetics. People have been led to believe, and I like that you called it gutter science because it is that, they've been led to believe that if you have the gene, you inevitably get the disease. All chronic degenerative diseases, and that includes cancer and heart disease, diabetes, those are the things that are killing everybody. They all have epigenetic factors, and as you said about your family, they smoked, they drank, they didn't exercise, they didn't take supplements, and then they say that it was their genes. My sister just drove across the country. There was a billboard, and it said, obesity is a disease, not a decision. Obesity is a disease, not a decision. Can you imagine? Tell that to the people who've lost 50, 60 pounds, changed their lifestyle, and therefore reduced their risk of dying young. The whole flap around the Angelina Jolie decision is unfortunately going to get women in this huge state of anxiety. And as you said, anxiety itself is a risk for premature death, and it's no way to live. What you and I want women to know is there are so many other choices fully backed by science. Just the vitamin D thing alone, or the New England Journal thing alone, makes so much sense to me. And having been on the front lines of women's health for so many years, I can tell you that women are tortured. They're tortured. But having near-life experiences by constantly worrying and then thinking that the cure is to cut off body organs, I mean, really, at the rate we're going in standard American medicine, I think we really should just do prophylactic mastectomies the minute a little girl starts her breastfeeding, because that's kind of how we approach prevention, just cutting it off. It's sort of like pulling all the teeth to prevent tooth decay.
So, of course, Dr. Northrup's reference to you was Dr. Gary Null, whose show she was on. And Gary Null follows up with one experience, and they mention many, which you can follow up with on in5d. one experience he had observing a German doctor and healing cancer, not removing body parts.
So my first trip was to Germany. And mind you, I did this all unannounced with a camera crew. I flew into Munich, and I drove out to Tegernsee Lake, and there was this old chateau. And it didn't look like a hospital. It looked like someone's private estate. It was not populated. It was, in fact, I didn't even find anyone for the first 20 minutes, not even at the reception. And there was only 3 stories high, and on the 3rd floor, I found this guy in the room putting on some running shoes, and I said, "Is this Dr. Rissel's place?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Where's everyone at?" He's up on the mountain. I said, "Which mountain?" He's behind us here. I said, "Well, isn't this supposed to be where terminal cancer patients are?" He said, "Yeah, we're all terminal." I said, "You're terminal?" He said, "Yeah, I'm terminal." I said, "Well, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, we come terminal, but we don't stay terminal. So just come with me." So I go outside with this guy, and he's a dentist from Chicago. So we climb about 500 feet up this path, and up there on the path was a plateau, a grassy plateau, and there were about 60 people, and he was just finishing taking everyone's blood. And then I was standing in the back, and then he said, "All right, I want you all to sit on the grass, and I want you to visualize this." And he's this tall man with long white hair going down to his shoulder. He looked like a lion. And he said, "Visualize that you are on this beautiful giant horse, and you have this long sword, and you draw your sword, and you're going to gallop slowly and then faster into the valley of death. And in front of you are millions of cancer cells. But you will end this day alive and well." And with that, he put on the overture of 1812. And I was standing right beside one of the speakers, and suddenly booming out over the lake and the mountains was the overture of 1812 for 12 minutes. And I'm watching the people, and I could actually see their bodies, their heads and their shoulders, they're moving. And then at the end of this, he took their blood again. And then they had their lunch, and their lunch was organic juices and organic salads and fermented foods and enzyme drinks. And then later, I met him, and he says, "Take a look at this." He said, this is their natural killer cell. Their answer had actual cancer killer cell ability before the meditation. Here it is afterwards. 180% increase in 12 minutes.
It's pretty clear there are alternatives if one chooses to investigate a little further. And one of the biggest one Christine Northrup mentions is vitamin D daily. And I encourage you all to listen to the audio. It's really powerful. It continues with many, many more examples and studies of healings and cancer cures. Finally, Christine concludes with this.
It's as though what you and I are talking about just can never make it into the mainstream media, and then they say things like, "This is quackery, it's unproven, it's not scientific." Someone just wrote an article about a blog about, they included me, they included other holistic docs, Bernie Siegel and so on, and they said that I made diagnosis with tarot cards. It's unbelievable. And the only way that I can sleep at night, actually, because I've been in this for so long and I've watched it for so long, is a cosmology of realizing that we're here on Earth to learn something. It's a planet of duality, dark and light. The forces of light always win, and the forces of light, through the access that people have to the Internet, are now winning. And as the light gets lighter, the dark gets darker. And so suddenly when I feel like we're having some traction with the breast thing, with thermography, with the data on vitamin D, with Gil Welch's article in the New England Journal of Medicine, women are finally realizing, hey, wait a minute, then boom. Looks like the dark forces need more to eat, so we get the Angelina Jolie story.
So I'd like to conclude by saying to women everywhere, you are not powerless. You are not wrong, and your body is not wrong. Your body is not bad or evil or dangerous. Your body is not in need of changing or mutilation to live. Your body is your best friend and an amazing creation and will never steer you wrong if you speak to it and develop an intimate relation with it and listen to it. I encourage you to do your homework and take responsibility for your own state of mind, body, and happiness. And please don't willingly give it away to someone else to decide for you. If after doing your research you decide that mastectomy or hysterectomy or any other removal of the body parts is best for you, then it will serve you. But you'll have come to that conclusion on your own, not by following someone else's directives. You have so much knowledge and power and wisdom within that the world is hungry for, so go within and seek that wisdom and knowledge. You owe it to yourself. And women, this is your time. So Greg, what do you have for us in news?
Well, a couple weeks ago, I told everyone about an app called Fooducate. After you upload this app to your smartphone, you can bring it with you to the grocery store and see what kind of crap you're actually buying. Unfortunately, this app didn't tell you if the food you're buying contains GMOs. Recently, a new app called Buycott, that's spelled B-U-Y-C-O-T-T, came onto the market. Basically, the app not only tells you which foods are ultimately linked to Monsanto and their GMOs, but also companies who are engaging in cruelty to animals and other negative behaviors. Buycott is temporarily unavailable due to the amount of traffic they received from people wanting to download this app. One report stated that people were downloading the Buycott app at a rate of 10 downloads per second. Developer Ivan Pardo stated on the company's Facebook page that they were working on moving to a new server that can handle the traffic. So, Heidi, I tried uploading this app for the last 3 days and had no luck getting it, but it's something that I look forward to having.
It sounds amazing, but I guess we'll be waiting for a little bit while they reconfigure their traffic options.
Yep.
So I think we have Peter.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Should we you want to bring him on?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, Peter. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me well? I'm on speakerphone, if that's okay.
Yeah, you sound good there. Thank you. Peter Champoux is an internationally known ley line expert and an authority on Earth grids. Peter writes and speaks globally on nature's pattern language and has turned what was once a simple geographic observation into an evolving art and science that he's now termed, I hope I can pronounce this right, Gaiagraphy. His book, the landmark Gaia Matrix, is all about the effects of biosphere patterns on American destiny. Welcome, Peter Champoux, to in5d Radio. And am I pronouncing your last name correctly, or is it pronounced differently?
Americanized, it's Champoux, but up in Quebec, it's Champoux. So, very subtle difference. It's like champagne or something. You got to use that champ there in order to be properly pronounced.
Champoux. Okay, we got it. I actually stumbled upon Peter a few months back after almost being what felt like sucked into the center of the earth while walking along a street in Midtown Manhattan, and I actually didn't know what was going on until a friend suggested I Google something I'd never heard of called ley lines. And once I got home, I did so, and the very first name that came up was Peter's, who I contacted by email and who very kindly explained that I've in fact been walking on a major ley line or energy vortex here in Manhattan. And he sent me this cool map, which I'll post on Facebook for you all to see. I really became fascinated by the entire concept after experiencing this sucking feeling into the center of the earth, and the whole concept of ley lines and their potential for human and planetary development. And so I decided to ask the expert himself to come and talk to you all tonight. So thank you so much, Peter, for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on. And I listened into the earlier part of the show, and I couldn't agree more. It's really a sad thing. It's really part of the food supply. I think ultimately that's it. Hormones and chicken, hormones and beef, hormones and milk. It's all stimulating cancer growth and stimulating market share. There's really profit through suffering is how America makes their money right now, through bombs and and through the medical industrial complex, which is, I understand for each cancer patient they make $1 million. So there's no real incentive to cure that, and there's no real incentive to make different chicken or hormone-free chicken because the profit margin isn't there. So it's this, we're really up against this huge obstacle. It's almost like this worldview that we have to get over. And that's what I'm offering with my work, is a new worldview, a new way to view the planet that isn't based on geographical boundaries or ownership or that nature. It's looking at the patterns of the Earth itself and responding to those culturally, and creating social forms that are that match these same organic growth patterns that are embedded in the Earth's crust. And that's generally what Gaiography is looking at the patterns of the living Earth, how the Earth is kind of like sensuously communicating with other planets and the sun and us, and what the role of humanity is within Earth consciousness. It's kind of that's all tied into Gaiography.
That is so awesome, and I think actually I agree with you what you said, but I also agree that this is we're sort of a game changer, because I don't think we're responding to all of this dark stuff the way we have in the past because of shows like this, and because of your work, and because of the ability for people to communicate. And as Christine Northrup mentioned on her audio, we have the internet. So I think here we go to do our fight back here.
Ley lines.
Yeah.
I could give you a little bit of, what is a ley line and stuff like that, or
absolutely, please. Yeah, please do. And also I wanted to ask, you're also a stonemason. Was that how you originally got into had an interest in ley lines?
I got interested in ley lines first, and then I got into stonemasonry to work with rock and make sacred sites. That was my plan. I was gonna do another Southern England here in America, I guess.
Yeah,
megalithic works was my plan. But as many of my friends say, I'm 500 years before I should be here, just kind of paving the way for this new worldview to emerge. It's going to take a while, but...
your idea of a little background on what ley lines are would be perfect.
Yeah, sure. Ley lines were first coined by Alfred Watkins, a insurance salesman who was traveling the countryside of England, and he was an antiquarian looking at all these old standing stones and such, and he found that these sites were all in a straight line across the landscape, and also noticed that many of the place names and people who lived along this line had the surname with the suffix of L-E-Y, Finlay, Crowley, all those different lays of the English countryside. And he concluded that they must be lay keepers, people who take care of these lines and manage these lines. And so that was the start of it, kind of that exploration. But really, in a general sense, the way I look at it is, in the English sense, a ley line, L-E-Y, has to be 5 or more standing stones or archaic sites within a 10-mile range. And with me, I look for patterns of culture and nature that cohere in kind of similar ways. They express themselves in similar ways. And then, so it kind of, ley lines are this, like a meridian, an acupuncture meridian of the Earth. So through these lines, you have a particularly strong focus of telluric energy that is, focused on mostly where the intersections happen between. Well, I'm getting really specific here. I don't really need to get so specific. Where am I going with this? There's an incredible detail of science and dowsing, art and science mixed in with this whole exploration of ley lines. Back in the 90s, Hamish Miller did a survey of the Grand Lay through southern England that goes through Avebury and many standing stones, essentially from Land's End up right across southern England. And when they dowsed it, they found that there was this meander of two lines, a male and female line, and they called it the Michael and Mary line. So similarly, any ley line has these two male, female, plus, minus, whatever, this kind of polarity line, like an electrical current. And in England, it was set up like an electrical system. You could use an electrical analogy in all these things with the standing stones as as like capacitor, and a mound as a battery, and a stone circle as a generator. All these in southern England, everything was tuned to see what the sunspot cycle was going to be, because they would use these telluric currents at this high point of the sunspot cycle, which coincidentally is this year, the high point of that, the solar maximum. And that's when there's a real lot of telluric energy happening in the earth, and you can tap into it and work with it. And this particular Grand Lay in England, that is probably the most well-known ley line in the world and the one people talk about the most. If you follow that out, it goes down to Lake Titicaca. If you follow it around the planet, any ley line of any like real strength is usually a great circle. It goes around the entire planet like an equatorial ring. There are also smaller ley lines that are more locally and focused and in length. And ley lines, like a global ley line, is more like a bandwidth than a straight line. And where more local lines, you get it's like a foot wide or something like that.
Is it sort of like the veins of a human being, like the veins of a body, or the nervous system of a human being? I mean, that kind of intricate. There are larger nerves, and then there's smaller ones branching off.
Yeah, correct. I think it has something to do with the Earth's glial body, because the human glials are, every neuron has 9 glial cells that attend to it. And the glial cell is a calcium ion generated cell. It's the only cell in our body that doesn't operate off of oxygen. And so it's a frequency cell. And many of these places where you have a lot of ley energy going around southern England, the Yucatan, Jerusalem, all are underlaid by limestone. So it's like the conscious earth holds its memory in limestone. So you have all those seashells and such, and so similarly, it's the glial body of the planet, and our glial body then resonate with the planet's glial body at these sacred sites, which quite often, like I say, around the world, the real big ones, and where there was a real concentration of focus of cultural expansion was on these limestone sites. Now, as a stonemason, I know limestone is the easiest rock to work with, so, chicken or the egg kind of thing. Maybe people, came there and learned about these energies through the limestone, and then said, oh, well, this rock feels different, and they, worked with the different rocks to make different energies. But now, another caveat here is that when the Stonehenge and all those ancient ley line structures that were in place, they were in place before the Great Flood. All right, so there's this worldwide myth. 5,000 years ago, there was a great flood, 40 days and 40 nights. Everybody, it rained, and all of a sudden there was all this water that came from who knows where. And after the flood, things started to degenerate. There was, in the Bible, prior to the flood, people were living to be 1,000 years old. After the flood, well, they were, getting younger and younger and dying. So it appears as though there was this increase of radiation that reached the planet's surface. And prior to that, before the flood, there was a canopy in the ionosphere, like an ice canopy, that had a greater charge and kind of dynamism with the ionosphere. So there was this dynamic interplay between the Earth and the ionosphere, and the telluric engineers of Atlantis, who tapped into the southern England ley line for their power, we're utilizing this telluric force to fuel their culture. Now, when that canopy collapsed, that whole culture collapsed along with it. So you have stone circles that are all thrown into upheaval, and it's just, I mean, it's some crazy energy, some pretty dark energy along those lines too, and trapped energies here and there. A lot of people are going through those things. So that's the kind of the classic story of the English ley line. But I've expanded on that and said, well, the English can't have it all. I mean, America has to have ley lines too somewhere. So I started looking into that and looking in. And I found that I could discern them just by looking at patterns and incidences of like gorges or individual things that you do in your life, or it's everywhere. Like for instance, in my own personal life, I met my wife, and we first moved and lived in this house in this little town in Washington, Massachusetts. And in this work, I said, well, let's see what the relationship is between this house that we lived in and where we grew up. And they ended up being in a straight line between the house where we met, my own family home, and her own family home. So there are these things that happen in our lives where that things come into alignment, and
right.
It happens individually, and it happens on a very large scale. And the one you tripped over was one of the real large scale ones. That goes up and down the eastern seaboard. So that's the civilizations, the whatever powers that be, those cutting off breasts right now. Do they utilize this knowledge? Because I'm thinking for most of us, I had never heard of ley lines before. I almost fell into one, and I'm wondering why that is. What is it been purposely suppressed? And what? How can we use this? The normal, average person on the planet. So have they the people in power, known about this? And at what point did it get sort of secluded to a few? And how is it useful for us day to day? And how can we know about the ley lines in our area, learn about them, utilize their power? I understand. Well, again, that's a chicken or egg conversation. Ley lines are something that's earth generated, and it's attractive. So it's not necessarily some Masonic group out there laying out a ley line in order to focus power on their particular sacred site. It's
right.
Recognizing this line, this contour of the mother's body, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing that and seeing how, look at how New York City and Boston and New Haven and Philadelphia and Trenton and Baltimore, all in an exact straight line, and it all just happened because there were ports, there was deep water at those particular places. So that's the natural features that make up the eastern seaboard ley line, which I call the Acadian ley, because if you continue following it south, it goes right down over New Orleans in the Cajun country, and then up into Nova Scotia. So the Masons, what they did was, in trying to choose a capital city, they positioned Washington in such a place where they could tap into that already existing cultural stream set in place by Boston, New York, and Baltimore, and Atlanta, Georgia as well. Oh, and Mexico City. Oh, did I mention Dublin and London and Brussels and? Did I mention, Amman, Jordan?
Yeah.
I mean, did I say it was also on the same ley line as ancient Troy and Gallipoli and the Franco-German border? And, I mean, this line is just so permeated with Western civilization and thought forms and cultural paradigms.
And is there any
to change that? Well, that's going to have, it's become this incrementally, and to change it, we have to either inundate it with water, or start acting in ways that are contrary to those kind of negative poles that are being expressed as this war meridian has become.
Oh, I see. So you're saying they've been. I understand that we don't create ley lines; they're there, and it's our responsibility to educate ourselves and feel them and use them. But you're saying
right, a lot of
energy
like Kosovo, for instance, that's at an intersection of the 42nd parallel, which is a latitude with attitude. That's like you find all the empires on that line, Rome and Istanbul and Genghis Khan's birthplace, and Beijing. All these things are all in the 42nd parallel. It's a civilization, so where it intersects the Akkadian ley, or Arcadian ley, I call it, on that side of the pond, it's right at Kosovo and Serbia and that whole thing. So the Serbians got into this thing of, the megalomania of empire, and got into the spirit of that ley line that was coming through there, and ended up doing, the rise of the great Serbian empires. And it was absurd what they were doing in this day and age, trying to pull that one off. But it was just the nature of the place. The fields of blackbirds there in the Battle of the Bulge, and all these memories of war that have been just kind of hammered into the ground. It's that was one thing I realized doing in my work as a stonemason. I used to, take large boulders and split them in half and turn them into, magnificent houses and such, and, chop them up like bread loaves. But the first cut, we would, make a memory line, a straight line, and then drill these holes and put in these expansion wedges, and it would eventually crack. But just before it cracked, there was just this tremendous energy that would be, almost like a very tense power that would come out of that rock just before it cracked. And it's a similar kind of energy on a ley line. One day I was hammering away on this rock, and it just wouldn't crack. And I said, threw down my tools, walked away, had a smoke, gave up cigarettes. And came back 20 minutes later, and I hit it once, and it cracked. So that said to me that when the rock holds memory, it holds the memory that it's, and this energy that's on this line keeps oscillating long after you've left the rock. So similarly, when there is this tremendous pain and suffering, drilled into the earth, in that sea of blood that is Kosovo, it's really, hard to remove that memory. We have a similar line in the States here going across the 36th parallel. That's the Missouri Compromise. And the Trail of Tears was on that. And a lot of the, that was the demarcation line between North and South, who would be slaves and who wouldn't be. And, and it's still cutting our country in half, this meridian. And it's laid down by state boundaries. So the founding fathers, or the social architects of America, used the telluric knowledge to build a nation. It was a good thing. The Masons understood these things, and You know, instead of putting sacred sites on these places of power, they put civic structures on these places of power. So, and they, you know, used the obelisk. They used a lot of their surveying skills in order to implement their own geomantic agenda. The Washington Monument, High Point, Jersey, and the Bennington Monument, for instance, is an alignment that the Masons put in, you know, in order to exchange the energy that was grounded in Saratoga, in that blood that really created the independence of this country, and transposed it through this phi proportion down to Washington, D.C. And so this Egyptian revival that happened during the late 1800s, the Masons are going wild with obelisks and, you know, everywhere. And they're really playing into it.
A dark version of the pyramid.
Yes, they are working, and so we have the 42nd parallel that's marked in our country to get that empire energy grounded. And so the Connecticut-Massachusetts border is the 42nd parallel, as is the New York, Pennsylvania, and then it goes right across the country, hitting Missouri and California, Oregon, and you know, it's a very clear line right across the you know, carrying that frequency. So, you know, that's in a latitude with attitude. There's all these frequencies on the planet that are expressed, like the 30th parallel, for instance, is all about river deltas. You know, nobody ever talks about that, you know, I mean, but, you know, like the Nile, the Colorado, the Yangtze, the Tigris Euphrates, yeah, I mean, they're all on the 30th parallel, where the delta is. So, you know, that's like a water frequency. And then the 19.5 degree latitude is where you find all the volcanoes. You find Hawaii, you find the one blasting off by Mexico City now, and Mount Pinatubo, and you know, so that's the fire line. So you have all these different frequencies, and they're interacting, and ley lines tend to be crossing over. They go at an angle across north-south. They're rarely north-south. North-south is it's that one is kind of that one I find quite conspiratorial. The north-south alignments of the planet, based on England being the prime meridian or 0 point. When you know, that's marking the world view. That's the world view that we have. That you know, our time is based on the Greenwich Mean Time. Our economy is based on English market economy. Our parliamentary system, you know, I mean, it's all English. Or the language of the world is becoming English. The banking system and all that, you know, atrocity and you know, it's all English. So where initially in the old days, 0 was marked by the pyramid, because that's the center point of the planet. It's at the axis. It's at 30-30. So at the 30th degree parallel latitude, and that north-south line, the Nile meridian, is. If it was marked there, then we would have had the Egyptian worldview, you know, kind of permeating time. So it's like all this metaphorical conversation that I have around these places.
Peter, can you? What?
My God. Yeah. Oh, where the point I was going to make.
You were speaking of how these energies have been sort of monopolized by dark forces. What can people do to? I mean, I know where one exists because I felt like I almost fell into it. But what can people do to take back control of this power and use it for something other than world domination?
Well.
how do people know about their ley lines? How do they find out about them? How can they use them? It sounds like they'd be useful.
Yeah,
for
I get requests all the time. Oh, do you have a ley line map of Australia? Well, if I had a few, 100,000 hours to explore the outback, well, maybe. But I've been trying to develop as many lines as I can for the area that I live in, and I'm trying to teach people how to do the same thing. I'm in the process of writing a book that explains this in more detail, so we can incorporate that into our lives. Some of that is spoken of in my book Gaia Matrix, and how you can apply this stuff. But it's really it's accepting that you have power is what it's all about. This game is dependent on us not waking up. So once you wake up, you can retain your power and you can start doing things that are proactive. And we we as a energetic being are the same geometry as the planet itself. By us doing holy work on these ley lines, by doing activities that are contrary to these negative expressions of the ley line, whatever that is in that particular zone that you find yourself, because this is entrainment. It's like doing body work. You can't really just go in there and, whatever, magic dust or something. You have to, work the tendons, loosen up things, release toxins, do prayers, work with the ceremonial cycles. And I've come into kind of having a relationship with Earth core through these things I call Earth rings. Earth rings are circular ley lines, if you will. They're these rings that I find, like, they're in different sizes and scales. The folks that are listening might, you can get a really much better idea of what I'm speaking of through these images that I have on the web, and they are available at my website, which is geometryofplace.com. /Gaiagraphy, which is GAIAGRAPHY. Actually, I think it starts with a capital G. And 101.html, and you can click through that. So that's Geometry of Place at Gaiagraphy, or /Gaiagraphy101.com.
So this is mostly it's just a deeper version of reconnecting with the earth, is what you're saying. And there's so much more there than just. Well, it sounds like there's a lot more there than just than we've been privy to. Because what I keep wondering is, why aren't we taught this in school?
We're not even taught geography anymore. Because they're trying to, turn the brain into, looking at your corporate geography as being your geography, your office geography. Don't think about that out there. Don't look at, don't look at the big picture. As long as they can keep people looking at, their own little, job that they're supposed to do, it keeps the consciousness down.
I can say from experience here in New York City that one street, which I've brought friends to since, they all experience something when they're there, and I experience if I need to be grounded, I go to that street, and I don't feel like I'm.
Well, that's what that is it's an intersection of the Bethesda center line of Central Park and the Broadway ley line, which is comes up the eastern seaboard, and it's on the same plane as New York City, or the Manhattan, if you will. So that plane. Look at that picture that I sent to you. Hi.
Yeah. It's
it describes it best, but that so all the earth energy, that field of green, that morphogenetic field, that's that sea of life in the middle of New York City, of biodiversity, when it crosses that chi that comes down through New York, through Central Park, intersects with that Broadway lay and goes deep into the planet. It generates a vortex, and a vortex, the dimensional proportions of the vortex are made up of 4 rings. All right. So you have the outer ring, a kind of like a little bit in, about a little bit in. There's another ring, and then there's another ring, and then there's a third circle in the middle. So if you were to look into your eye, you would see the proportion I'm talking about, because so this vortex is the same as the human eye. This vortex is the same as the cross section of the planet. So when you say you get grounded at these places, this is where one taps into that vortex, which taps into the planetary body. The planetary body being this field of like a gravity well, if you will. These rings express themselves as the inner core, the outer core of the planet, the upper and lower mantle boundaries, and then the lithosphere. If you take those dimensions, well, like the lithosphere mantle boundary, that's the same size as Venus, okay? If you take the boundary between, where the outer core is, the outer core of the planet is the same size as Mars. The inner core of the planet is the same size as Pluto. And that proportion is played out in the cross-section of the sun, in the cross-section of the galaxy, the orbits of the planets, the geometry of our bodies, the geometry of our eyes, the geometry of the Great Pyramid, and indeed the geometry of a lot of these Earth rings that are emerging out of the crustal membrane of this living planet. So by using this, using our eyes, using this gravity form, this kind of holy grail vortex, if you will, you can take intention and place the, to do no harm, and place an intention for this ley line to be healed over an intersection, and by communicating in this way, the Earth is being recognized for who she is, and you're sending a vortex signal to the Earth that it can then respond to. You send love into the planet, she's going to respond with love. If you send that blood into the planet, she's going to run away, and that happens at war zones. You can follow a ley line by dowsing up to the edge of a war zone, and then it'll divert and go around it. It just doesn't want to,
Wow, that is intense, and because when I go to this line, I've been taking rather than giving, but I'm fascinated that you say she needs giving and healing just as much as we do, and that through the lines she can, she being Gaia, being Earth, can heal.
We are her. How could we be anything else? We are the planet, we are the planet's consciousness,
And perhaps just acknowledging those lines and the energy that is a communication which heals in and of itself.
Indeed.
So, yeah, I think it's
recognizing your lover for the first time, it's kind of like seeing somebody, that you saw their face, but all of a sudden, it emerged, and wow, there's this really beautiful person there,
Right, or you've dreamed about them your whole life, and then they're right in front of you. Yeah, it's fascinating because when I'm on that spot, that pavement, it doesn't feel like pavement. It feels like green grass to me. It feels very natural, and it's not. If you just look at it, it's just cement or blacktop, but it doesn't feel that way at all.
Yeah, no, it's really wonderful. Really tapped into something there.
And so, these buildings, these big, like the Trade Center and the these big power buildings in places like New York and Rome and Washington, D.C., they're purposely built on ley lines, are they?
Yes.
Okay. And so they're carefully, those locations are carefully chosen.
Carefully chosen. Well, at least they were at one time. You know, and if the Masons are involved, they're carefully chosen. You know, now they're putting churches on the corner of, 3rd and Main or something like that, and there isn't really a connection to the land. The land is the place of the devil. You know, there's this, the hell is down below, so it's like the earth has really gotten some bad press in the last 2,000 years. It's, Stonehenge, for instance, I spoke of that earth ring pattern, the cross-section of the planet, how the vortexes look like that. Well, it's this, if you look at the ground plan of Stonehenge, it's the same earth ring pattern. If you look at the Dendera ceiling in Luxor, it's the same thing. You look at the Aztec calendar, it's the same earth ring pattern that's depicted there. So the ancients were, speaking with Pachamama, speaking with the Earth Mother through these, send in love, and she would send it back, and there was a grand old time. Fertility rites on the 1st of May every year. Just to get things moving.
So what is the difference between the straight ley lines and these circular ones that you refer to? The circular grid.
I think it's just a matter of scale. It's like a great circle ley line would have the Earth ring would be inside the planet. So it's a great circle ley line works with the entire planet. The edge of California, Mexico is an arc. And if you continue that arc around, it describes a circle that's the same size as Mars, centered on Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts, and it goes out into the ocean through the Mid-Atlantic Rift and down to South America and up to Greenland. It's really quite large, and that has similarly Earth rings. As the radiance of this gravity wave goes out from Shelburne Falls, it intersects with the Great Lakes and different other structures, Earth ring structures, like the ring of the Great Lakes, for instance, is the center point is Sault Ste. Marie, the Sioux Locks, and the distance between Chicago and Detroit and Niagara Falls generates a consistent angle that suggests a pentagram on the land. So this gets into the whole thing of water. Water being the geometer of creation, and that holds the same gravity field. So it's just this thing. It's just like, well, what I call it is the Champoux effect. I was thinking about this one morning. It's like bubbles, these lathering bubbles of kind of like these etheric light bubbles permeating the planet's surface, and so the Champoux effect, play on words, using my name, but
right.
So the bubbles of the world, and it's this stuff of water. Water is the Orion Nebula is producing enough water to create, I think, 3 oceans an hour. Something like that. 3 of all of Earth's oceans in an hour are happening in a stellar nursery in the Orion Nebula. So, that says that the universe is just full of water. We wonder where our water came from, but it's everywhere. And it's creating. It's kind of like this. I think it's like a matrix that all creation is kind of uses. Even rock. Rain falls on rock, and it creates a geometry that is of water. So you can see these things, and so we live our lives, and the paths that we walk across the land, places that we've lived, tend to reflect the same geometry as water, as we're these water beings interfacing within a biosphere that's made of water, walking on Earth that's underlaid with water, and it's all about water, and all the sacred geometries that exist, or the primary sacred geometries, the five proportions, and that whole conversation that I won't get into are all implicit to water and the angle of bonding within water. So it's wonderful stuff and so sacred.
Do ley lines intersect at all with the study of astrology? Do they parallel one another at all?
Well, there's this thing called archaeoastronomy. No. This is I can't remember the name of it. But where you get a map, they superimpose your astrological chart on the Earth. But there's a lot of stellar stuff that seems to be getting grounded. You see a lot of Orion configurations on the planet. As people have found them over the Great Pyramids and over the Hopi land, this kind of star configuration. So there seems to be a conversation that the Earth has with its dome, with its sky dome, that pulls in light.
Yeah. Right. And are they using are they using this ley line energy when they use HAARP and chemtrails? I mean, is that all in? Are they?
Well, it's ionospheric interface, and they're using the ionosphere. So it would affect ley lines.
Right. And poor Earth. I feel so badly for her. Greg has a question for you. Greg, are you there?
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to in5d Radio, Peter. I didn't really have a chance to say hi to you, but if the saying "as above, so below" is true, then how does our solar system, galaxy, and universe pertain to ley lines?
Well, there's just this, when we there's just this like spider web of life everywhere. The Native Americans, call her Spider Woman, and she's the creator and creates this grid that everything hangs off of, the web upon which everything hangs off of. So ley lines are our own local earthbound expressions of great energy bands that extend through space. You can see them in like patterns of galaxies, I know that this rationale is dismissed as, you can find patterns in anything, and that's what they have used to dismiss ley lines because, all these already know you can make lines here, there, and everywhere. But it's just looking at it visually, looking at it as an artistic palette. You see these lines, these strings going through alignment of galaxies, and and within galaxies themselves there are these filaments you see, and so when you look at them far away, they look like circles and curves. When you look at them straight up, this is a straight line. If you're on the ground and you're measuring it, and you put 3 lines in a row or 3 rocks in a row, that's in a straight line going. But if you were to take that across the curvature of the planet, it changes and becomes a great circle. And so it's the same. It's just. I don't know if it's. I can only say that as far as this galaxy goes, it seems like these Earth rings are exhibited in the galactic body as well. So it might just be our particular galaxy, or this like a spiral galaxy that expresses itself in this way.
Right, and we see these certain formations on other planets, and well, for example, on the moon, there's certain ley lines that they've found pyramids on, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
Now, you mentioned about sending an intention of love to Gaia. Now, what can we incorporate into our meditations in order to help heal the Earth?
Well, I have a good friend, Mary Hardy, out in Allegan, Michigan. She's got a pyramid set up, and she works with Etheric Knights Templars, and they've instructed us to use the Holy Grail Vortex, which is using a prayer, and she uses the Lucius Trust prayer, point of light in the mind of men, that one. I can't remember quite, but but the pace of this prayer is like the first part of it is bringing down the energies from celestial sources. So bringing down source in the center. So that's the center of this vortex, this earth ring vortex. That's turning counterclockwise because you want to lower. Low pressure, rain falls. High pressure, the sun shines. So, things rise with high pressure and fall with low pressure. So the counterclockwise vortex drills that energy into the earth. But, we're kind of these flawed beings who have ego, and so, you just kind of have this intention to heal this place, but you don't add any specifics on it, and you just let this creator source force take over. And then the next ring around it, so that's the earth core ring, so you're grounding source into the earth core. The next ring is the outer core, and that's you visualize hierarchy, you visualize Jesus, Buddha, whoever you're, as modulating this, some being of full knowledge that can, understand the complexity of the entire situation, and you ask for their assistance. And this is still, counterclockwise vortex, and is bringing earth, that energy into the earth and into this spot. And then the next two rings go clockwise, and that's your place to work with this energy in collaboration with source and hierarchy to bring this template of love into place, through your words, through expressions of love, either through offering tobacco or offering water, or doing whatever you do. I think the Lord's Prayer, the Jesus Prayer, that works the same way. It has that same cadence to it. Where you bring celestial energy down, and then you give terrestrial energy back, and that conversation, coupled with that geometry, with those balanced with that balanced vortex spin, brings that collaborative work into being, that healing work of the planet into being.
Now, I'm sorry, we had a small glitch here on Blog Talk, and what we're going to do is we're going to wait for, while we're waiting for Heidi to call in, we can continue on, and I apologize for that glitch that we had with Blog Talk.
Oh, that's quite all right. I thought it was my end. I thought I ran out of power.
Well, we're not sure either. So Heidi, what I'm going to need you to do is call in as a guest, and I'll bring you on as a co-host that way. So in the meanwhile, let me ask you this. How does the precession of the equinox affect ley lines and the Earth's kundalini?
Well, it awakens it. It's the Earth has this cycle, and the ley lines tend to contract in the winter and expand in the summer. The more light, the more electromagnetism that's being pumped into the planet, the more energy that it can put out of its crust. So equinox at that balance point, it's really the ley lines are just waking up or or just kind of like falling back asleep again.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. On your website, you mentioned micro-scale ley lines. Can you give us an example of what one of those might be?
Well, those lays you can only identify with a dowsing rod or pendulum or your own body if you get sensitive enough to them. And it's really some geomancer friend said, he said, if we drew every single energy line that existed on a map, the whole thing would be covered with graphite. So again, so it's like you try to get to the larger scale ones that are because there are other capillaries. It's just like our blood system, other capillaries that are all feeding it. So it's kind of a hard question to answer.
Is it useful to learn how to dowse? Because that's sort of my next project. I'd like to learn how to dowse so I can map ley lines in New York. I'm really on a mission here.
Sure. Yeah, you really have to identify what kind of ley lines you're looking for, and just particular. I'm looking for a ley line on this lot, for instance. Is there one there? Yes, no. Where? Point it to me. This type of thing. Dowsing is a yes/no thing, and it's dependent upon how clear you are at the time of asking, and how clear the question is, and what the question is. So it's really all about the question. Because you can say some pretty ambiguous statements and think you're being specific, but
right. And you said some people can do it just with their own.
Yeah, I don't use dowsing per se when for my large scale mapping projects. I look to the land and look for the patterns that just emerge from an overview.
Or you can sort of feel them too, like I felt that one that I almost fell into.
Yeah. Once you feel a couple of them, you know them.
They're pretty intense.
They're very intense. Yeah, they'll knock you right over if you're not.
Do you have more animals? Oh, go ahead.
Greg,
I was wondering if animals are able to sense these ley lines better than humans. Like they teach dogs to sniff for drugs and bombs and stuff. Have they ever taught?
Yeah, definitely. Cows. If you look at cattle pasture, cows will meander along energy lines.
Oh, cool.
Herds will follow ley lines. For instance, here in Massachusetts, we have this thing called Mohawk Trail. It goes from Boston out to Syracuse, and at first it was animal trails. Then the native people walked along the trail, and then Route 2 was put in, and now now Route 90 goes out there. It's just this. It's this evolution over time.
Broadway was an old cattle path too. Broadway certainly in New York City.
Right. Animals go along ley lines because it gives them energy. They get fed by it. They feel better about it. It's just it feeds them.
Like me, when I go visit my 41st Street ley line, I go there to feel better, like a cow.
Right, and that's exactly why they would put sacred sites at the crossing of ley lines, because it would feed the spirit. It would inspire the spirit and get it activated. It'd activate the glial body. That would start attenuating to frequency, and then you could tune into God. So.
Wow, yeah, it's really quite amazing. It's sort of like a Reiki session. I'll have like that, or an acupuncture session when you go. And I would just encourage anyone to. I want everyone to be able to feel that it was really awesome.
You got an address for that?
An address?
Yeah, that you're willing to give on the air?
Oh, wait, say that again. I'm on a phone now.
41st and what?
Oh, 41st between, let me see. It's between 6th and Broadway, that block. And it's in the center of the block on the south side of the street, more so than the north side. It's really quite in the center of that block. It gets less intense as you go west and less intense as you go east. It's quite in the center there.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and you can feel it, and my friends feel it too.
Can we let Greg have a word in edgewise here?
Well, and thank you. I live near Sarasota, near a beach that has 99% quartz crystal sand. The sand itself is unique to any other place on this planet, and it makes me wonder if the lost continent of Atlantis is nearby. So what would you recommend for me to do in order to research this further?
Drain the oceans. Yeah, well, Sarasota, it sounds like a folly to try to do that, but to try to find Atlantis out and about. I mean, they just found a settlement off the coast of Georgia recently, out in 350 feet of water, and that seems to be where the old coastline was prior to the Great Flood. And this,
No, go ahead.
So this city that they found, this village, is in the proportion of 12-foot people.
Oh my God.
And something that the powers that be aren't telling us, and that forbidden archaeology knows very much, is that this continent was inhabited by giants. And many of the mounds of the Midwest and those big Cahokia mounds, if you dig down the bottom of those, you'll find a giant buried there. And pretty much all of them that have been excavated, they found 12-footers in the bottom. So
that's fascinating.
It appears as though if the Atlanteans did exist here in the Americas, they were big people, and they were, the skull structure of these giants. They have a double row of teeth. Their jaw can fit right over the human head. I mean, these are massive beings, and if you were a big fellow like that, you could roll around a lot of these megalithic rocks that we see scattered all over the planet. So if you're searching for Atlantis, I think you got to look for the big people. And the big people, what's happened to them is that they've degenerated because after the fall, the amount of radiation that was hitting the planet, these big people couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle the amount and collapsed their bone structures and such. And the ones that were able to survive became nocturnal. And they're known as Sasquatch and Bigfoot and various places around the world. So if you want to find out about Lost Atlantis, go talk to Bigfoot. I guess there's some skunk apes down there near Sarasota. So.
Well, it's kind of like Heidi when she was walking on the streets up in New York City. As soon as I stepped foot on this 99% quartz crystal sand, there was just so much energy from it that I knew that this is where I have to live. It was the energy itself that spoke to me. So, yeah, I can relate to that, Heidi.
Yeah, and all those, Sarasota has a real lot of shells, too, so there's tremendous amount of, that limestone, that planetary glia is there. There's also a large earth ring that's settled right into the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, that's pretty clearly seen there in the shape of the Gulf. So, Sarasota plays into that. You have to really look at it to go much farther than that. But.
I appreciate that. Now, some people believe that there's an inner Earth. If this is true, then would the inner Earth have its own ley lines, or would they reflect the same ley lines as we have here on the outer surface?
Can't answer that. I've never been there.
Okay.
and I haven't been able to have them, give me a tour yet or talk to me about it. But
okay.
I'm not quite sure. The verdict's still out on Agartha. I'm well familiar with the theory and Commander Byrd flying into the hole and such. I believe that there are some kind of beings that live in the inner Earth, through the surface, and perhaps plasma beings or something in the core. But I don't think that there's. It's not my feeling that there's this actual planet, or like the inner core of the Earth is actually an inner sun, and the inner layer. I can't go there. I'm more of an expanding Earth adherent, in that that the Earth was much smaller 300 million years ago. And I say that because all the oceans in the world, or all the rock that's in the oceans of the world, are all 250 million or less, 300 million or less. And all the continents all are 3 billion years old. So it appears as though there was this, expansion that took place. Perhaps a gaseous expansion from the center that created volcanism and water, release of the water from the core of the planet, or traction from out. I don't know exactly the full dynamics of it. It's all speculation, but just kind of looking at the patterns of things, that's kind of what I'm coming to.
Well, speaking of which, right now you're kind of talking about the whole Pangea theory. So, if that whole Pangea theory is true, then how did ley lines play a role in the separating of the one massive supercontinent?
A lot of the ley lines that have emerged that I've found tend to follow the coastline, like there's the Beijing ley that goes from Bangkok up through Beijing, over the top of Aleutian Islands, or over the top through the Bering Strait, down into the Americas, through Grand Teton, through Spanish Peaks, Colorado, through Palenque, and down the coast of Peru. These ley lines would have been the old coastlines, or the old bonding edges of the of Pangea.
Okay.
Where these really large circles are expressed. So there's a First Nations ley that connects many continents, like goes through North America, Africa, and Australia. I think it's that kind of process is going on, that the Earth is creating this coherent shape with the help of water and gravity to generate a geometry that is coherent and that holds together, that spins properly. The whole idea that the Earth, Pangea was on the Earth, was over on the Earth on this side, and the other side was all water, right?
Right.
I get an image of a flat tire somehow, Yeah. And then there's this other piece that the Earth might be spinning backwards. All the patterns on the Earth are, like the suggestive patterns of, like the flow of water, how water flows, suggest that the Earth in its optimum spin state should be spinning in the opposite direction than it is now. That there's this talk of pole shift and things of that nature, and people have, the 2012 thing happening, well, what do you think about pole shift, Peter? That was a big question back then.
Well, it's an interesting topic, too.
Yeah, it is. It is an interesting topic. And the Earth geologic record shows that the pole's been shifting every 20,000 years forever. So it happens. So my thought is that what the pole does is it shifts its magnetic field. because that's what's registered in the rock of the Earth is where the magnetic field is and where north and south is. So they see that north becomes south and south becomes north. Now, when south becomes north, and in a armature or in an electrical current, like a generator, if you change the polarities, you change the direction of spin. So I think that might be what transpires. So there's this change of direction of spin, and when that happens, there's this, there's one ride with mountains rising. So we have the evidence of that down in Pumapunku in South America along the Lake Titicaca, where at 20, up whatever, 10,000, 20,000, I can't remember how many thousand feet. I mean, 15,000 feet is Lake Titicaca, I think. Or, so there's this freshwater lake, and it has all these seawater animals like starfish. It's the only lake in the world that has a starfish, and there's all this. So it's suggestive that Pumapunku and that entire altiplane was once a seaport. And you look at Pumapunku, and they have all these places where you can tie ropes, and where there was it was like a port, and so in the legends of Villacamba, there's this kind of Quetzalcoatl white guy with a beard who brought culture to that area of South America. He just showed up on a ship one day, and it's speculated that he was, in this upheaval, in this great upheaval, he was brought along with the water and his ship up to 15,000 feet in this big upheaval when, in the fall. And he brought culture, but he didn't last very long. He just lasted as long as a human life lasted and went away.
Well, apparently he taught the Maya mathematics and agriculture and medicine and all sorts of things. And he promised to return, and who knows when that might be. But I found the whole thing interesting. Now, getting back to the what would happen to the ley lines? You were talking about a magnetic pole shift. What would happen to the ley lines during a physical pole shift?
Well, I think the ley lines are what keeps things together, because it's they're on these planes that hold. Well, let's put it this way. I'm a stonemason. I look at a boulder, a big stone, and you look to try to cut the rock in a place where it will accept a cleft. So there's a natural cleft that's already in a rock, and you try to work with that. And similarly, if I were to take this planet and say, okay, I want to split it in half, I would cut a memory field circle into it and drill these holes along these lines, and that's what you get for these ley lines. So it's as well it's these planes that hold the rock together. As much as you could, pound it and split the rock apart, with the violent chisel and hammer, these planes are what hold these two pieces together. Just like this plane within this rock is held together. So the Earth changes. There'll be a change of flow in the ley lines. Perhaps a reversal of what the current is. Things of that nature will take place, more telluric related. There is there are north-south alignments, which are the actual telluric energies of the planet. This is science. Telluric energy, TELLURIC, and it's this current that is during the day moves south through the land about 3 feet underneath the land in water, and then at night it goes north and exits. The tellurics exit as like aurora borealises, or so that this dynamic relationship between the electromagnetic field of the planet and the ley lines are intimate. So
wait, see, you said it reverses itself? Can you repeat
well, it
that?
might if the poles were to shift.
Oh, I see.
The polarity of the ley lines would shift in order to accommodate the new direction of flow.
Oh, I see.
You know, so there's this Tellur current that goes north and south all the time, and that's the electromagnetic donut of our planet. You know, going through the lithosphere and kind of out, out into space to provide, and then back into core, and it's all part of this dynamic protective mechanism of the planet to ensure life remains.
And we have that.
You talking about that?
Go ahead, Greg.
You were talking about the toroidal, I believe it's called, field?
Yes.
That people use sometimes through meditation. So what you're saying is basically we could actually use meditation through some kind of toroidal meditation to help connect to the earth.
Correct. Yeah, the Thrive movement has some great imaging to help you out with that. Thrive movie. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but
what is the movie?
Oh yeah, it's a wonderful movie. Thrive.
Thrive.
Oh, Thrive. Yeah.
Thrive, the movie.
Yeah. It's awesome. And do electrons spin in that same direction around atoms? I mean, is that the same? Is that all connected, or is it?
The proportions of atom spin is the same as Earth rings. Yes.
Interesting. So because I just last night saw some video. I don't know how whacked out there or accurate it is about the spin of water, and that because it's pumped through pipes, mechanically it reverses the spin, and that when you drink water that's spinning in the wrong direction, it causes havoc in your body. And if you can put the spin back so it parallels your own, the electron spins in your body, then it will be that much more healthier. Any fluids. And then you were just speaking of that. I wondered if it was if there's actually something to that. But there is this rock. Since you were talking about rock and the energies in rock as a stonemason, there's this rock in Vermont where my family has a place, and we called it Hiller-Heidi Rock. My sister's name is Hillary, and I'm Heidi, because when they were trying to clear the fields for farming, they obviously dynamited a whole lot of rocks. But this particular rock, it has the holes in it, but it was unsplittable. It wouldn't move. And so now it's still got the metal, I don't know what they're called. They look like molly balls that you put into to secure pictures or whatever. But and the holes are there, but the rock it wouldn't budge. It just they gave up, and and so it's in the middle of this cow pasture. And I
set up at Lake Willoughby.
No, it's in the eastern middle part of Vermont.
Okay.
Central eastern part of Vermont, and I always wonder. Now I wonder if that is what would you like if that happened to you when you said you were splitting rocks and all this energy and then you let it calm down? But is that because maybe it's I don't know. I'm just curious. Is that because it's on a ley line, or is it because it's just it got energy it won't let go of, or what might cause that?
Well, for a rock not to split. It just didn't have enough. They couldn't. It was bigger than they could. It sounds like the whole Earth was attached.
Yeah, right. I mean, because it has a lot of holes in it, big holes. Hiller-Heidi Rock does. It's a big rock. We have picnics on it and stuff. It wouldn't move.
Yeah.
They tried.
They tried. Right. It just.
So we did a lot of cow calling.
It was just too big for what they were trying to do.
Yeah. It was very interesting. So I'm going to be curious. I'm going to do some more research on this circular water thing, and if there's any validity to that, or if that's just hogwash. But if it actually,
oh no, that's very true. Yeah,
really.
There's many products that put spin back into water in order to bring it back to life. It's dead. It's dead water. I mean, when you push it through. In the end, the Theodor Schwank. he was a student of Steiner, and he did this wonderful work on water, and Victor Strahlberg did some great work on vortexes and how fish work with vortexes, and and our body needs spin. Everything needs spin in order to happen. We're on a planet that spins. Everything is turning, and it has to. It has to have that dynamo within it, and the water that we put into our bodies is probably the most important thing that we can give it is for spin, and taking it out of the tap, and you should even taking it for instance, just try this sometimes. Take a glass of water, drink it. Right? And then to turn on the faucet and let the same water flow over your hand, and then hold the water in your hand, and that returns the spin to it, because your hand is a phi-proportioned spiral, a vortex. That that gives it spin, and the water tastes sweeter. It's more enlivening. It's more refreshing. Just as simple as that, pouring it into your hand and drinking it out of your hand.
Yeah, I noticed.
We could only do something with the fluoride.
Right. I understand that Harvard just said that fluoride's making people stupid.
Yeah.
You think?
Definitely.
The guy on the
I wonder why they're doing that.
I wonder. The guy on this video I saw last night he would take a glass of water. I'll send it to you, and he put 3 fingers of one hand together with his thumb, and then his other hand just flat out on the other side of the glass, and he did this with soda, and it reversed the spin so much that the soda went flat within seconds, 30 seconds.
Wow.
And yeah, it was. I'll post it. I was looking and I was like, really? But now I'm talking to you. I'm like, really? So I'm thinking I did, and you can do it to all your liquids that you drink. And his claim is that it basically reverses aging, and that you will regain tons of health. Now I have no idea, but now in listening to your knowledge on spin and the vortex.
Yeah, the figure 8, infinity water. There's that's a product that's out there. It's pretty good. And Nikan does the same thing. Nikan has a water purifier that adds spin to it in the process of purifying. So.
But if you could do it for free with your hands, that would be awesome.
Which way is the correct spin on the water?
Now, let me go check the toilet.
But wouldn't that differ too in
South America would be different. That would be the correct spin down there.
Oh.
Okay.
And he said that insects and cats and something else don't need it redirected. Dogs do. I don't know. It's really interesting. I was like, really? So you don't
I just flushed my toilet to find out.
What?
I just flushed my toilet to find out. It spins counterclockwise, so the correct way would be clockwise.
Right.
Correct?
Right. Exactly. It's clockwise. But he also said that that your toilet it goes one way and then it goes the other way. So it goes both ways.
Oh, okay.
It goes one way and then it reverses halfway down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a series of 3 videos. But anyway, if you have a pet cockroach, you don't need to reverse the water for it, apparently. But dog, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really.
I think you can use that same template of vortex either way. Counterclockwise, it's one kind of thing, and clockwise, it's another. So it both brings things into spin. It's thought that you should use clockwise because it's sunwise, and so that's the way the Earth is spinning now. So
if you're on a merry-go-round, drinking a bottle of water, you're good to go then.
Yeah.
You just carry your bottle of water and spin on a merry-go-round. Yeah, it's very interesting because you could just do gallons of water. You could reverse them with your hands, apparently, according to and then you're good to go.
Right.
Yet another experiment to undertake. Interesting.
Yeah, a river creates flow by, meanders, and water over your hand creates meanders, creates spin. It's as simple as,
I wonder if
you got clean hands, you can...
I wonder if you could
Go
put
ahead.
a gallon of water on like a potter's wheel and affect the properties of it.
Yeah, I've done some experiments with the stone test, stone in the pond.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to follow that same earth ring pattern.
Wouldn't it be cool to do what Emoto did, take some water and put it under an electron microscope and just from the top, right, and look at it, and then do the thing with the hands and look at it and see how it changes molecularly under the microscope?
Oh, well, there has been German scientists that have done that, and it's one, like one water sample given to 6 people. As soon as they touch it, it changes geometry.
Right.
It's really something.
It's really hard to control those tests. Yeah, those tests are like almost impossible to control.
Yeah, it's quantum. It's
yeah. Right, because it responds to everything, just like the plant test. They have to. It's really difficult. It's really challenging because they're influenced by everything around them. And I wonder if plants would respond. I guess if you reverse the spin of the water you give them, they might respond even. They might respond better in germinating and growing if you gave them, unless plants don't need it reversed, like bugs, insects don't need it reversed, and cats.
Well, there's you can find these water treatment. There are many people that are coming up with these devices that are plastic. With the inside of it is coiled to create a spin, and there's 5 or 6 different designs that people are saying is the cat's meow, and any of them improve water and increase plant growth exponentially. I mean, it's really helps plants in a big way
because the spin has been corrected.
Right.
Interesting.
They can absorb it into their bodies.
So, question: why is the water purposely pumped in the wrong direction through these pipes, or what? Like or is it by accident? Or I don't think anything's by accident.
Well, path of least resistance. They don't want any resistance in the pipes. If they put, these baffles in there to put spin in, it would take more energy to pump. It would, on and on and on. You wouldn't have you wouldn't have that flow that they want. So it's very it's cost prohibitive to, put something in there, and they just need a pipe. They use that since Roman times, and lead pipes and such.
Out of curiosity, what kind of water do you drink?
We use the spring. We have a local spring we go to every week. We go to it and get our weekly supply. We're on a highly fluorinated water system here, town water system, and it's bad enough taking showers in this stuff.
Yeah. I try to take as short of a shower as
possible. There's a lot of water you absorb through your skin.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what a person can do if they're like in a pool. Would your thoughts and intentions, just say you place positive thought and intention in the pool to heal the water, would that help? Would that work? Water,
yes. Water has consciousness, and it's what gives consciousness. It's what gives, it's the kind of the animator of Holy Spirit, or something. It's how. It's and homeopathic dosing also works on water. You can take, like holy water, or very, water that's been entrained with proper spin and placed in the water, and the rest of the water will, because it immediately shares everything it knows, like, some kind of Borg collective, and it all, thank you, now I remember, Great. You're dancing around all those, chlorine molecules, and they yeah. So yeah, it's pray to the water, and the waters will communicate with the waters.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like a good thing. Peter, do you have you had a lot of conferences coming up? Do you want to share them with people so they know where you're going to be speaking? And in the next few months, there was a lot going on your site, and I thought people might want to know about it.
Yeah, there was two conferences. One was scheduled for early June for American Society of Dowsers. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make that this year. I was planning on it, but had some stuff come up that stopping that from happening. The only other, but I encourage everyone to go to the conference if they want to learn how to dowse. Have you ever been up there, Heidi?
I haven't, but I saw it, and I'm really curious because
being a Vermonter, you should go up there. Well, Lyndonville, Vermont. It's every June, mid-June. Well, this year it's the 7th.
I'm very, very tempted, believe me.
And then the other one is going to be a Megalith America, which is the American version of Megalithomania Glastonbury. So that's happening in Quincy, Mass, and that's in October 26th, I believe. I've got it on my website. Megalith America.
And you want to repeat your website one more time for everyone?
It's geometryofplace.com.
Great, Geometry of Place. Okay, awesome. Because I want people to be able to follow you, and you're on Facebook as well. Yeah,
I'm on Facebook. I keep it open to the public, and make posts periodically there.
Super.
And you can look forward to my book coming out next year. I should be getting this down in paper over the winter. So.
Oh, cool. We have a caller, Greg?
Yes, we do.
That's great. It's kind of down.
Yeah. Yeah, area code 646, you are on in5d radio. Welcome. Hello?
It might be a listener. I don't know.
It could be a listener.
I
do have another question, though. In your opinion, Peter, what is the role of humanity and how it's tied into Earth consciousness through Gaiography?
They say in the Bible that we're made in the image and likeness of God, and God is the earth, God is the galaxy and sun, it is all that exists. I just went off into outer space there. I went interstellar. What was the question again? I guess I'm getting tired here.
What's the role of humanity and how it's tied into Earth consciousness through Gaiography?
Yeah, so we're made in the image and likeness of the planet, and humanity's role is to experience the Earth and to bring consciousness of the Earth being the Earth. If you want to, call the Earth God or an expression of God, it's I feel that humanity was created in order to make a fuller expression of divinity, and the Earth is part of that whole thing, and we're part of that mutual experience with the Earth of co-creating this this conjoint creation that creates joy in its contemplation. You know, that's really what man's work is.
We kind of missed the mark, haven't we? A bit. I mean, in the big picture, I don't mean in individual lives, but you know,
yeah, we've been under the control of some dark forces here the past years, and and they've been taking our resources and using us as slaves, and that type of thing. So we have to free ourselves from the shackles and wake up to our true destiny, which is co-creative. It's co-creating with each other, with the planet, with the universe. So
awesome. We got to reach our joy again. Definitely.
I see another caller is up there real quick before we have to leave. Let's bring on caller from area code 508. You're on in5d Radio. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. What's your name?
You can hear me. My name is Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. How you doing?
Welcome to in5d Radio.
Thank you very much. I've been wanting to call you guys for a while, and first I wanted to say you and Heidi are really great together. You're a very good team, and I like to see that. I've listened to other shows too, and you seem to blend very well, which is good because you have to have that,
Mm-hmm.
So I was just calling because I took a course this year, which is for environmental clearing, clearing the land, geobiology, and it was really a great thing, and it's interesting listening to what you guys are talking about with the spins and all of this, and so what I did was I learned to clear the land, and there is some ceremony involved in it, and working with the devas, and but it is scientific as well, and so there's just so much involved in it, and I think it's really neat hearing about the ley lines some more, and I learned a lot about the Hartmann lines, and Heidi's bringing up cats and how cats are a little bit different about some things, and also cats, if they lay on the Hartmann lines, it means you should move your bed. If they lay on your bed, and because that's where they like to lay on the Hartmann lines. So Hartmann lines are unhealthy, and the ley lines are different. I'm just kind of bringing that up because it was something that I learned as well with that. So, but really neat conversation. I'd love to call back another night as well and talk about some other things because I have some interesting stories to tell.
Well, I'll tell you what, next week we're going to have an open lines night where we're going to run the gamut on talking about anything. So,
good. Right.
Yeah, feel free to call in anytime, Jennifer.
Okay, great. I'll make sure I'm open next Monday. Yes.
Okay. Thanks
Thanks,
for calling,
Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you for all your information, and good luck to all of us. We're doing a really good job.
Indeed.
Go team.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yay. So great. It was talking to you. I'm going to let you go because I know that this is the end of your show, and we'll speak to you next week.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. Be well, all of you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so, well, I guess we are. Here it is. It's 9:01. We got you on overtime. Sorry about that. But
Peter,
I'd like to thank you,
so
Peter.
much.
You're very welcome. I guess this will be on archive, is it?
Yeah, we're going to clean
definitely.
up the drop call part and then put it up. And thank you again. I learned so much. I'm going to have to go back and listen to a lot of it to absorb it all. And but it's been awesome, just awesome.
Great. Been wonderful being able to speak about this subject I'm so passionate about.
Obviously, and keep up the amazing work. You're a gem, and the world needs you, so keep it going.
Thank you. I could use some financial support if anybody wants to send me money.
Okay.
Just if there's any billionaires out there with an extra mill,
Right, to keep Peter going, because he's doing some amazing work.
Yeah, I mean, this work isn't exactly, supported by this particular worldview.
None of this is.
We know all
none
about
of this
that.
is. Yeah, we've been having that discussion ourselves. So I feel you, and I'll go to my ley line and make that request tomorrow.
Okay.
41st Street.
With a Holy Grail vortex.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you both.
All righty. Well, thanks so much, Peter. Take care now.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Well, be sure, everyone, to check out Peter's work on his website as well as his book, The Gaia Matrix, along with his upcoming new book. And next week, we're going to, as I just mentioned to Jennifer, we're going to have open lines all night, so feel free to call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. And we'll also be talking about how are you contributing to our new Earth. As always, we're going to close out tonight's show with a song written and performed by my co-host, Heidi Cole, called Walk On Through the Rain. So, on behalf of Heidi, this is Greg from in5d. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste, guys.